Hello noble ones, welcome to Metatron's Protectorate. Today I wanted to make a brief top 10 list for my favorite samurai games in order. Now of course this is a personal list, do let me know if there is any game related to the samurai or feudal Japan that you like, that you think should have been in this list. And without further ado, let's jump right into it.
Number 10 we've got For Honor, a game that is not exactly a samurai game, but it does feature a lot of samurai and quite interesting samurai combat. The reason why the game is here among games that are actually full samurai games is simply because of the fact that you can choose between quite a few characters and they all wield a different weapon belonging to feudal Japan. Sure, you've got samurai that are not exactly historically accurate, they're wearing wooden armor for crying out loud. Orochi has got a katana, Kensei has got an odachi, Nobushi has got a naginata, and you've got a Muppet with a kanabo. Now, not many games feature this weapon. Now, at number 9, we are exploring the world of Nioh. Now, Nioh is a game that I have enjoyed. Brilliant armor. It features interesting weapon, again, a lot of diversity, and you can customize the sort of combat that you want. It does feature a very interesting switching of guards situation system that we do find in a lot of samurai-related games. But the reason why Nioh is on this list is because it lets you explore and experience Japanese feudal folklore. The Umibos is my favorite. It's a Souls game, so for me that means it's never gonna score high, and Souls games fans are gonna hate me for it, but if you enjoy samurai history, you're gonna like this. Number 8, Yakuza Ishin. Ryuga Gotoku, original title. The Yakuza series games is one of my favorite. I played most of them. My favorite was number 4, the fourth one. But one thing that usually these games have in common is the fact that they're all set in the present, but not Yakuza Ishin. Now this one is set in the chaotic Bakumatsu period, so between 1853 and 1867, not feudal Japan, but it's like the very end of the so-called samurai era. The story is interesting, the characters are great, and the combat is somewhat satisfying. It's not the best out there, but it's a game that is very colorful and it presents Japan of that period in a very bright way. It's an eye candy. It's interesting, definitely worth picking up a copy. Number 7, Total War Shogun 2, and we are starting to talk about the real deal here. Now, the Total War series, one of my favorite, hands down. If you are into samurai, this is one of the definitive games for it. So why does it only strike number 7? And that is because usually when I play, this is again personal preference, but when I play samurai games, it's because I want to live as a samurai, not as an entire army of samurai. But for one of those days when I'm just in the mood for commanding troops, moving ashigaru, moving infantry, having my samurai charging in, considering strategy and all that, then this game is perfect for it. So if it's one of those days when you feel like having a battle, this might be the perfect game for you. So it is one of my 10 favorites, but with the next one, we're going down memory lane, my mate. Number 6, Onimusha. Now, probably most of you haven't even played the old ones, but I started with the very first one for PlayStation 1. And of course, back in the day, there were a lot of technical limitations. We did not have the sort of graphical capabilities of our modern day consoles and PC games. And the game did have the sort of very awkward early Biohazard, Resident Evil 1 sort of control style, which was not easy. But regardless of all that, this series was one of those first samurai games that started to be beautiful to look at, and it combined demonic power and swordsman skills and a little bit of trying to figure out where you're supposed to go, because you know, back in the day games were actually difficult to play. And number 5, Kengo. 1 and 2, but mostly 2. So Kengo is a very nice fighting game which focuses on realism. Now, when I say realism, you will see that these chaps will occasionally perform the awkward, odd, very weird move, but generally speaking, the cuts are believable. You can choose your guard, and it really gives you the idea of tempo, the amount of things you can do, distance, and being careful. And that's because you don't need very many hits to kill your opponent. But in the second one, when you manage to cut your opponent, even if you don't kill him, he might start bleeding, and if he doesn't kill you quick, he will bleed out. And the game featured some interesting modes different from 1v1, which really made it interesting, and you could even create your own style. And number 4, we have Bushido Blade 2. Now, the reason why I'm going directly to 2 is because, well, it's the better one, to be honest. It's the best one of the 2 iterations that they made, which is a shame they didn't continue, because I loved this series here. And here is me fighting, having some duels with a friend of mine, and it was great. I mean, this game, you could change your guards, and you had attacks from those guards, but it really made it count, because one hit, you kill. Occasionally, you had hits that didn't kill, but you could render your opponent's arm unusable. You could chop part of their leg so they couldn't even stand properly. This game was the best in terms of representing an actual duel, and I loved it to bits. Now you might think, but isn't Kengo just a better version of this? And I want to say, no. I mean, I don't know if I'm just being nostalgic here, but this game is probably, up to now, the one game that gave me the best sensation of a simulation of an actual duel where you could literally lose your life. At number 3, we are moving into Way of the Samurai 4, the sort of RPG section, and we are moving into a game that is not only focusing on combat but also on the actual story. But one thing I have to say right off the bat, with the Way of the Samurai series, you either love it or you hate it. For me, it was love at first sight, set in the Edo period. So when you start the game, you are this lonely samurai who goes around, and then you can choose if you want to side up with the samurai at the castle. So with the Bushi, if you want to side up with a rebellion and they live in this cave, or if you want to side up with the Gaijin, the foreigners from, I believe it was England, and that changes completely, and the game has got a huge replayability. You can finish it off very quickly, but you replay it because it has like a lot of different variations, not only depending on what faction you wish to support, which changes completely the perspective of the game, but also because of all the different choices that will end up with loads of different endings. Make your own blade, make your own style, create a dojo and teach your martial art, and you can choose what guards you prefer, if you want to go for an upper stance, a lower stance. I mean, this game is just, it rocks. And my favorite was supporting the rebels. I loved it. I would like play as the Ronin, and then I would play the game entirely on a new game, and this time supporting the samurai and the castle. Fantastic game. It really is worth it. And at number 2, we have Way of the Samurai 3. So yes, it's the previous title. Graphically, it's kind of weird because it came out on the PlayStation 3 and it looked like a slightly better PS2 game. It wasn't particularly good, particularly the water. I mean, the water is awful in this game, but the game is very similar, of course, to Way of the Samurai 4. The combat is not as refined, although it is still very fun, particularly the special quick time events where you can, if you're really good at them, and it does take practice, you can literally one-shot like 15 people in a row. It's a great game. And the game, again, loads of different endings. It's set in the Sengoku Jidai, so that's probably one of the reasons why I prefer it. And you've got lots of armor as well. It doesn't really do much. It's just for cosmetics, unfortunately. But again, you can choose if you want to side with the people on the castle, so the actual samurai, if you want to side with the rebels. But this time the third option is siding with the villagers, with the people. So you can be a samurai of the shogun, of the daimyo. You can be a samurai for the previous daimyo who now became the rebels, or you can be a samurai of the people. And it changes the story so much, and the more you play it, the more levels of difficulty you will unlock, normal, hard, until you reach the hardest setting, which is a setting whereby you kill with one shot, but you also get killed with one shot. And believe me, this is the most realistic experience you can have with the idea of any duel I'm going to go into, and remember, this game allows you not to. So if you do choose, I'm going to draw my blade, well, you need to think about it because you're really risking your life. And it's a game that it kind of rewards you and doesn't at the same time. What a fantastic experience. So it takes a little bit of time to understand its mechanics because it's quite unique. But once you understand how it works, it might even be worth reading a walkthrough actually to understand how it works. It's great to explore all of its different endings, storytelling, and so much customization for your character. It's a pearl. And at number 1 we've got Ghost of Tsushima. Of course. I mean, I wasn't expecting this game to be this good. I've recently made a video. I'm actually creating a whole series of playthrough where I play this game in Japanese, oddly enough. I don't know why I decided to do that, but yes, I do, because I do speak Japanese, and this game surprised me. It's, as far as I'm concerned, it's the best experience. I mean, I haven't played the whole thing yet. I have put in a few hours. By now, I'm creating the second episode of my playthrough, and it's fantastic. Like, so far, it's the perfect samurai game as far as I'm concerned. Of course, it's not 100% historically accurate, as I said, on the dedicated videos I have on my channel, and if you're interested, you'll find links in the description below. But it is a great game. It's rewarding, it's beautiful, as I say, eye candy. It features a Kurosawa mode. The Mongols look a little weird. The samurai are using weapons, and they look like samurais from 200 years in the future, if not 300 years in the future. There are some weird things, but if you can go past them and just focus on the experience, then as far as I'm concerned, it's the best experience of being a samurai that you can get as of now.
Alright, noble ones, well, I hope that you enjoyed this list. If you did, please remember thumbs up, and if you are not yet a member of this community, become a noble one, and thank you very much for joining. And thank you very much for watching. Bye.